Definitely right. The courtroom is the last place this fight can go to over a back and forth that started early last year. It appears now that Axon is winning the battle to build their massive new headquarters in Scottsdale. So here's how this all started. The Lame Duck City Council in Scottsdale voted on rezoning changes last year that would allow police and military tech company Axon to build a new $1.3 billion headquarters near the Loop 101 in Hayden. Opponents, though, they fought back against the apartments included in the plans. They were concerned the HQ would bring too many people to the area, use up too many resources. A citizen group collected enough signatures for a ballot measure, but before that vote could happen, lawmakers at the state capitol finally tailored a new law signed by Governor Katie Hobbs that essentially cleared the way for this project, canceling that vote altogether. The citizen group sued, calling that law unconstitutional, but new this morning a judge just ruled that the law itself is in fact constitutional. That citizen group already vowing to bring the judge's decision to appeal, which appears to be their last chance to hold up this development. Scott and Tess, I'll send it back to you.